Hi, welcome back to our series on Uncommon Success, How Family Stewards Produce Intentional Wealth. I'm David Witter, founder and CEO of Financial Harvest Wealth Advisors. And as you've been through the journey of the 8 chapters, starting with alignment with our spouses when it comes to money decisions, going all the way through to leaving a legacy to future generations, and you're utilizing the checklist for self-assessing, you probably reached this point today where you're like, David, where do we go from here? We actually had a lot of reports back from the series like, wow, this is really fascinating. We had that checklist where we were self-assessing. We could see a lot of areas where we can be more intentional, modify some of our actions, come up with new practices to be in. But they're really looking for a way to how do we bring all that together? So the question to think about today is, how would I go about getting a 360-degree second opinion assessment of my financial situation that includes those important family relationships? And what I have invented here today, and it's also in chapter 9 of the book, is 5 criteria to be thinking about when you're selecting who or what firm or how would you go about thinking about getting a second opinion assessment. So let's start with the first criteria. The first is a fiduciary. That's a term that many of you probably are familiar with, but it's one of the highest legal standards of care and equity that's available when you're working in the financial services marketplace. Unfortunately, most advisors are only held to a suitability standard, which often brings in conflicts of interest. With a fiduciary standard, though, all conflicts of interest are fully disclosed, which really helps to avoid them. In addition, a fiduciary is also required or obligated to put their client's interests first at all times and in all situations. So that's the first criteria. Are you using a fiduciary? Second would be wealth management. Now that's a term that a lot of people have heard utilized and quite frankly I think overutilized in the marketplace. But what do we mean by wealth management? This is how we define it. It comes up with 3 different components. The first is investment consulting, which is how do I make wise decisions with my money to protect and enhance my wealth for generations to come. Second is advanced planning, and this really separates wealth management from just doing the investment consulting. Advanced planning has 4 additional concerns that we take care of for clients. The first is tax mitigation. How do I keep more of what I save, earn, and invest? Secondly is wealth transfer. How do I transfer my wealth down to my loved ones effectively and efficiently? Third is protecting my assets from being unjustly taken or from catastrophic loss. And fourth would be maximizing my charitable impact. Obviously, this advanced planning requires other professionals to be involved to help care for those other wealth management concerns. And the third component of wealth management is relationship management. Not only managing the relationship with the client to integrate all these concerns and then a plan of action to take care of them, but also we need experts on our panel to be able to handle those concerns and coordinating those actions to deliver wealth management. So that's criteria number 2, wealth management for your second opinion assessment. Third is outside professionals. Sometimes you'll see where a financial services firm will do an assessment or offer tax planning services, but it's done in-house. The problem there is you may not be able to guarantee that you're getting independence, objectivity, and transparency where you can get that if you're using outside professionals where there's no conflicts of interest. Fourth is the process. Now, why in the world would you use a process in the first place with wealth management? Well, I like to think of it about an airplane. Even if a pilot has been flying commercial airlines for, let's say, 30 years, they still have a checklist and a process that they use every time for every takeoff and every landing to ensure things are not missed. So the way that we think about this fundamentally is first you start with assessing the current situation that you're in as well as the objectives that you're trying to get to. And then you assess, hey, is our plan of action going to produce that success and maintain it? Second is, if there is some inconsistency there, how do we design a plan of action that's even more effective? And then third would be to act upon that plan. But you can see here it's very laid out and it's got time and space between those to ensure that the plan of action fulfills your objectives and gives you that success. And last but not least, the fifth criteria might be, is that whole second opinion assessment and that process aimed at the concerns of the family steward that we went through in our 8 chapters of our book? In my marriage and making money decisions with my spouse, with my children, with caring for aging parents, harmony with my career and life, longevity, healthcare, giving and spiritual concerns, and of course leaving a legacy. So as customary, let's go to a self-assessment checklist. So if you're going to be looking at a second opinion, here's a checklist that you would consider before engaging in that to ensure that you're getting that full 360-degree assessment that's going to take care of you. First one is, when's the last time you had one done? That's the first thing, is like, hey, should I be taking action now? Second is, are you working with a fiduciary that puts your interests first at all times and is paid for the advice as opposed to paid by the product or the investment company that you put money into? That again gets rid of that conflicts of interest. Third is wealth management considered, where there's the other factors pulled in like tax mitigation and transferring wealth to loved ones and protecting assets and maximizing charitable intent. Fourth, is there transparency and independent, where the assessment includes outside professionals that are separate or independent from the wealth advisory firm doing the assessment. Fifth, what is the defined process for delivering the assessment? Is it well defined, laid out, repeatable, and gives you a sense of peace that nothing's going to be missed? And last but not least is, are all those 8 family steward concerns addressed in the assessment? So I leave you with 2 thoughts to consider. First is that all success begins with being intentional. With no intention, you can't produce success. Second is, once you have the intent, taking action and taking action now. Many of the viewers of this series have come to the conclusion it's time now to have a second opinion assessment. And if you'd like to have one of those done with myself and Financial Harvest Wealth Advisors, by all means let us know, and we'll be happy to schedule your second opinion service for you. It's been great going through the journey with you, and I wish you the best of uncommon success.